I'm Matthew, and I'm here to tell you how the Seventh-day Adventist Church is organized. Wait, we're organized? I like knowing how organizations work. Who's in charge? How do things get decided? Where does the money go? And where are the liberals so we can blame them when things go wrong? Now, you have a few basic organizational structures out there for churches, models where the local congregation is autonomous, or a board of elders runs things, or a polity where bishops are in charge. Adventists borrowed ideas from different churches back when we were being organized, and then we added tofu, just to make it better. So, at the base of our Adventist structure, we have the local congregation. There it is, happy as a clam. When we get enough local congregations in an area, they meet together and elect leaders of something we call the conference. Now in America, the conference usually corresponds to some sort of political boundaries like a state, but not always. So we have the Illinois conference, for instance. The congregations in a conference pay tithe to the conference, who then uses some of it to pay pastors, do evangelism, help schools, things like that. The rest goes up to the union, which is an administrative umbrella covering several conferences. So the Illinois conference is part of the Lake Union, which also includes Wisconsin and some other states. You can think of unions as the mediator between local conferences and the world church. Unions make it easier for the 650 conferences around the world to be heard on the world stage. So imagine that you have 650 kids and they're all talking at once, wanting something. You have to find a way to organize those voices, and that's what unions are for. And on the other hand, unions are a kind of shield, so that the world church can't put enormous pressure on one isolated conference. The world church could fire a conference or a union president, but the members of that union or conference could get together and elect any president they wanted. So unions are like if your 650 kids decided to band together in groups, it would be hard for dad to wrestle with one of the kids alone. You pick on a union, you're going to have 5 or 6 kids rolling all over you. There are over 100 unions in the world. So the General Conference created divisions like the North American Division and the South American Division, which you can abbreviate as SAD. The North American Division of the General Conference can easily interact with the 9 or so unions in its territory. So the Illinois Conference is part of the Lake Union, and the Lake Union is part of the North American Division. We have a North American Division president, who I like to call DJAX, and the division works, for instance, on coordinating health projects and education and evangelism on a scale the unions can't. So the division, for instance, can standardize curriculum for the thousands of schools in its territory. So if you transfer from the first grade in an Adventist school in Indiana to an Adventist school in Arkansas, you don't end up going from learning 2 plus 2 to learning how to bake pie. Although, Dan Jackson, if you are watching, please add baking pie to the curriculum. Now, the General Conference itself was formed to coordinate everything Adventists did on planet Earth. We have a General Conference president as the visible leader of the church. Now, the General Conference meets in session every 5 years. About 2,500 delegates or so come from all over the world to decide on big issues, like where are we all going to eat tonight? The General Conference session holds the most decision-making power for the global church. It is there that division and General Conference presidents get hired and fired, or the church can change a theological belief, or more likely argue for days about how a sentence in a policy book no one reads should be phrased. The General Conference headquarters is in Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. That's right, the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is in a state named after the Catholic Queen Mary, who, by the way, didn't even like the name Mary. I just imagine her husband, Charles I, saying, "My queen, I have decided to name this land in America Maryland after you." And the queen's like, "I hate the name Mary." And Charles I, "I know, it's perfect, ha ha ha." Anyways, that's the structure of the denomination. But how does it work? Where does the power lie? Well, in my opinion, Adventists have done a pretty decent job of spreading the power around each level of the church. But fundamentally, the power lies with a local congregation and a local conference. All of the churches in Illinois can band together to kick the Peoria church out of the denomination. No one else can do that. The General Conference president can't just decide that I've been bad and fire me. Only my local conference can do that. So it's a deep system of checks and balances which protects us against dictators just as well as it protects us from being too effective. The checks and balances ensure that if something is going to get done, leaders at various levels have to work together. Ultimate power, however, ultimate change, ultimate responsibility for the church lies in the hands of the delegates who assemble at every level of church government, from a local church business meeting to the general conference in session every 5 years. Now, the structure of this church has been tweaked over the years based on the needs of the moment. It isn't sacred. It was built for efficiency to get the mission accomplished. Now, it's anyone's guess what will happen in the future, like when we colonize Mars. But if we do colonize Mars, I want to put my hat in the ring to be the first Mars Union president. You got to call dibs on those offices early. Now, I know we're talking about this from a really wide perspective, and there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of interesting little details and exceptions and variances in policy about how all of this works. So if you have a question, ask it below. Next time, we're going to talk about tithes and offerings and where the money goes and how much pastors and administrators and teachers get paid. So hit subscribe below if you're interested, and we'll see you next time. Remember that the best is yet to come. How the Seventh-day Adventist Church is organized. Wait, we're organized? Cool.